So, guys, welcome to another edition of Dude, Where's My ROI? So, today we have a very special guest. He is actually running and he's actually working with a SaaS based company, and wherein he is doing brand marketing. So, he's got tons of experience in this particular space. He has started off from an intern, and today he is actually the head of brand marketing at Freshworks. So, we're looking forward to this. Abhishek, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeet. Thank you for having me.
So, Abhishek, one of the first questions, like going through your LinkedIn bio and everything, your journey has been interesting. You have started off, as all of us have, from a, you can say, small intern kind of a role. And today you are leading your brand, leading Freshworks with brand marketing. So, how does it look? Like, how did all that happen?
Yeah, perseverance and effort is what the regular answer would look like.
Right.
So I cut my teeth with as an intern with Hindustan Lever, and I was on a rural marketing project sent to about 14 villages across the width and breadth of India. And
Okay.
that taught me a lot of things in terms of if you could sell a 5 rupees soap in a certain way, you could sell anything else, right? Which has got
Wow.
very little product differentiation.
Nice.
That got me started in terms of my inclination towards marketing. And I then thought, hey, what better than sales as a role to start off things? Because that's where you're closest to retail and to the
Correct.
customers. So I sort of took up a role with Virgin Mobile as a area sales manager in Rajasthan, which was
Right.
also a very, very interesting stint for about close to 2 years. And then slowly and steadily, I built my career in a couple of different ways. So one is I picked up consumer research and analytics as a field. So I worked with Kantar IMRB, where I worked with clients like GlaxoSmithKline on the brand Horlicks,
Right.
LG, HCL, and others. And that's where a lot of consumer immersion as an exercise really sort of got to me. How do you sort of position a product? How do you segment your audience? How do
Right.
you look at channels, concept, product? How do you test them all and whatnot, right? So, and then I then moved to sort of I got together that base, and then I moved to brand and digital marketing, where there was a good sort of balance of both creative and quant, something I really loved.
Right.
It's something that we badly need today. And then finally, I got to the role that where I am at Freshworks, which is leading demand generation here.
Right. So, in terms of your career, like you have been at the grassroots, as you rightly mentioned, and then like looking working with sales also gives you a very fair idea of how the market is reacting and whether it's working, not working. Whereas marketing always has this bad rep to it that marketing is just about now numbers and they talk about brand awareness or demand generation, but sales, that is the main truth. So how do you connect both of these things? Like
Right.
the term also, and it's I always thinking about this. It's always called marketing and sales, or
Yeah.
sales and marketing, sales marketing, or something. It's never, you cannot separate both of them.
Right.
But digital marketers have this very weird kind of a place wherein they show the numbers, but conversion nahi hua, and all those things kind
Right.
of boil in. So, how do
Right.
you, what do you think a digital marketer's life is like today? And how has Martech actually helped them to get more confident or concrete results? Like show, okay, okay, this is what we did and this is what has happened. Like how has that happened?
Right. And you're absolutely right, Sid. So marketers have gotten a bad rap over the last few years on
Right.
just focusing on top of funnel and nothing beyond that. But if you look at the evolution of MarTech, that's sort of slowly changed. And that's changed also the expectations that you have from marketers today. So back then we started with tools and technologies around advertising and promotions, right? Social, search,
Right.
display, programmatic. Things moved on to content and experience, and where there was a lot more chatter around mobile, social, and personalization. And then eventually to sort of commerce and retail, where there were a lot more questions being asked of marketers in terms of, like you said, how do you get your ROI? How do you have a direct attribution to revenue? And then
Right.
finally to all aspects around measurement, efficiency, and even accountability, right? So today, one of the largest sort of pieces of software technology within MarTech happens to be data and management, which
Sure.
is essentially asking several questions of marketers as to how can you get closer to revenue. And when you get closer to revenue as a marketer, you're automatically very close to sales, right? Because then the
Correct.
objective becomes the same. There is no sales and marketing duality that's at play, but there is just one team, which is sales and marketing, that works together thanks to some amazing data and technology that's available. and then they work
Right.
as one team. And in fact, the buyer or the customer sees you as one company, not as a marketing pitching product to me via an ad and a salesperson pitching a completely different sort of a cold call to me to sell your product.
Perfect.
So that's where the world seems to be moving, I feel.
Right. And right now, so even in marketing, the way things have been moving. Earlier, it was just marketing, and you're right, it was more about ads and all these things. Right now, also this is happening. Then came the world of inbound marketing. Then came the world of account-based marketing.
Right.
So how has all this evolved, and where do you see a company like Freshworks also fitting in over there? Because Freshworks' the journey also has been very dynamic to all these changes, right?
Right. Absolutely. And that's a great question. So I believe that Freshworks is in a unique place because it caters to multiple segments. So we have got those very small businesses who operate like consumers like you and me in terms of their
Right.
search behavior, product discovery, product consumption. Then you have those mid-market, larger enterprises who, of course, behave slightly differently in terms of the number of touch points, what they read, what they consume, and whatnot, right? So
Correct.
it's very important to have different marketing strategies for those two different segments. So for SMBs, search clearly is the primary way to discover products. No wonder. So it's the equivalent of Amazon for products, the way it's taking over Google at some level,
Right.
right?
Right.
So inbound marketing has a significant sort of role to play still. It's become hotly competitive. The keyword prices are going up and ROIs are going down. So how do you then have SEO playing
Right.
that sort of magic complementary support complement the lack of ROI in general? So inbound marketing has got a significant role to play when you're talking about a market segment like small businesses or even consumers for that matter.
Right.
And then account-based marketing, clearly where every account has got a significantly higher value to you, number one. Number two, every account has not just one decision maker, but a pool of decision makers making that product decision for you. So when those are the two scenarios that you see for your product, then account-based marketing becomes a very natural fit in terms of your go-to-market motion. So that's how I would place these two strategies, and that's how we are doing it at Freshworks today.
Right now, India as a market on a very, or marketers, digital marketers, they have been using the term lead generation a lot. And demand generation has also, it's a term which has slowly come into play few years back. So how do you separate both of these, demand generation, lead generation?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll go back to the fundamental sort of, I'll put across the role of a funnel here. You start with the
Right.
top of funnel, then you generate some qualified leads. So you get leads right at the top, you qualify them over a period of time.
Right.
And then ultimately sort of if they are qualified, you hand it over to sales, who then take that process along, right?
Perfect.
That's been the conventional process. Now, what marketers have done for the last several years is they've stopped right at the top. Now, I cast my net wide with my dollars and spends and creatives, and I'm happy with just generating leads which have very little context for sales to operate on, and they're happy almost throwing those leads off the wall, and that's my job is done, right? But that's beginning to change. One, business is asking a lot more questions to marketing, sales is asking a lot more questions to marketing, and there are technologies and tools available to sort of get you that visibility. So marketing's role has moved slowly from being responsible for only those not so contextual leads to highly contextual, I would say, pipeline, right? Which has got a lot more contextual information, intent to buy, and a lot more other signals that is then ready for sales to take. Of course, it could just be, you could think of it just like a semantic change, but the fact is demand gen is far more powerful and far more broader as a concept than just lead gen that we have all been talking about for so long.
It is, it is. And I think even demand generation, you can concentrate on communities, you can concentrate on those wider stacks versus that individual lead, which as such was a primary person for the sales team to go after. So it's now more about maybe there is a pattern to how businesses are working or operating and where do they actually go and get their information. Because a lot of people are involved in a purchase. It's not just one person who actually takes that decision, right?
True.
And so tell me, how does your day look like at Freshdesk? Like, what do you do? What are your responsibilities, and how do you conduct yourself?
Sure. So I am responsible for demand gen for product suite that sells to sales and marketing as personas.
Right.
And that's across, like I said, right from small businesses to enterprise. Right? That's the spot. Now, we're very clearly that you can't have one team working on these diverse segments because the buyer journey is different, the content needs are different, the way you do campaigns will be very
Right.
different. So
Right.
we've got two different teams for that. One would manage all things SMB, and the other would manage all things mid-market and enterprise.
Right.
And the way the teams are structured is broadly in terms of content development, planning and design and distribution.
Okay.
And the second would be running global campaigns based on some of that content that we get. So
Right.
my day is sort of primarily spent on managing that pipeline of content. What is that high value, relevant content that the different sets of audiences might need?
Right.
What are those highly profitable segments that we might want to go after? Essentially excluding all the opportunities that don't make sense in terms of time and effort, and only focusing on the ones that have the highest probability of conversion. And then moving on in terms of designing those campaign legs, right? So working with the team to identify what is that next big insight that we have in terms of moving that persona. It's both are very hotly competitive fields, right? You have got about 7,000 vendors when it comes to MarTech. You have got on G2.com, there are about 500 players listed on Salesforce automation. So getting attention is the most difficult task, especially if you're a new player. And a lot of our effort is therefore focused on creative, media, optimization, figuring out a very different story compared to what's being spoken about in the market and whatnot. So, and then of course, there is a larger role of working with our sales development and sales teams in terms of enabling them with the right content so that we are all talking the same language when it comes to our prospects. So that's broadly how my day looks like at Freshworks.
Awesome. I like that idea. I like that thing about 7,000 MarTech options are there available. Yeah. So I actually was researching more on that. We are in the process of building some sort of a library for this. So there are like 8,800 MarTech tools available today to the marketer, and that's in 2020, and it's just rising.
Right.
When we are thinking about this whole right now agenda of the lockdown and everything which happened, how was your work life impacted?
Yeah, great question. It took some weeks, to be honest, to settle down. So there was this, it's like a Gartner's quadrant, right? There's initial euphoria that you have where you felt, hey, it's work from home, it's going to be different and exciting and whatnot. But very soon over the next 3-4 weeks, realize that there are so many broken things about work from home because we have not thought about work from home in the holistic way we should have even in the past. So coordinating with the team, and ensuring that the team is also sort of happy and motivated because we are all living in different kinds of families. We have all sort of our own sorts of pressures. So understanding the team dynamics really and how they are comfortable functioning. And at some level, as a manager and leader, sort of working around the team, if that's possible. So there was this initial euphoria that I sort of felt. And then there was a sense of disillusionment almost for a couple of weeks saying, hey, is this going to go on forever?
I totally relate to that, actually. That's the same thing which happened on my side.
Yeah, and then you're getting used to it, right? By now, you've sort of almost settled in. You've figured out life around work from home. You've got all the equipment that's needed to sort of work well. You hopefully try to put yourself in a better mental space every day, and then life goes on. Yeah.
Right. Are you, like, very weird question, but are you using a standing desk?
Oh, yes, I am. Yeah.
What's the brand?
I don't remember. Sorry. I have to check. No, I don't think I have it.
It's okay. So that is one of the main things I think, which we would never think of, but now these things have actually come into play, right? Standing desks and all.
Absolutely.
In terms of MarTech, how have you seen it evolve? Like, what do you remember early on? What was MarTech like, and what's the difference today, and where is it going?
Yeah, I remember the earlier days where all you would speak about is email marketing tools, right? I think those were the days where even having that sounded cool, right, to the world.
It's also like funny you say that, but if we look at MailChimp, right? MailChimp was only email marketing. That's what the name also suggests. But today they are they are doing landing pages and whatnot.
Right. And it's amazing that they caught on to email marketing, and it's incredible even more that email marketing hasn't died. So every year there is a proclamation that email marketing is dead. But even it never will die, right? Given the one-on-one connection that you end up having with your buyer, customer, and whatnot. So those were the days where we would talk about email marketing, but you were still happy with a bulk email blast, right? There was no concept of personalization really, and that hadn't really emerged. Now, I remember having a lot of discussions around tools for search, social. I think that's my first memory of MarTech evolving in general.
Right.
And in the initial days of display and programmatic and how you would sort of go ahead and measure it and whatnot, those were the discussions, multi-touch points and all the sort of issues around attribution, and you would try to figure out last click and whatnot. So that's how it started, I remember.
Right.
And then it slowly sort of moved to thinking about bigger and more evolved things. A lot of chatter around personalization, a lot of chatter around mobile as being the most important device compared to desktop. And India made that leap so much quicker compared to, let's say, the West, where there was a linear progression from sort of desktop to laptop to mobile. We jumped to mobile directly. And then there was this era of content and experience. So what is that experience you would give your buyers when they are on the web? Can you give them a different personalized experience? Can you even segment them based on which verticals or industries they are, for example, in case of B2B? Or based on prospect or customer if you're in B2C, right? Some of those things that we were talking about. And then slowly it moved to commerce. So I remember at Philips, we were looking for e-commerce tools. Again, to sort of set up our shop, get up and running ASAP with, let's say, Shopify, and then being able to do more and being able to measure all our activities on e-commerce. And then finally, and this is the biggest piece that my colleague at Freshworks has done incredibly well, which is everything around data and management, right? In B2B, where the value of every customer is so much more compared to, let's say, B2C, the importance of capturing and that attention is extremely important. And therefore, how do you connect all the myriad pipes and data together to ensure that you are able to have a holistic measurement? Then you are able to sort of make things a lot more efficient in terms of your spends and planning and whatnot. And the fact that marketers then end up getting a lot more accountability. You are accountable for a clear sort of revenue pipeline because you're able to measure everything today. So the interesting bit though is all these technologies started with enabling marketers. But today, there are a lot of marketers being left out just because they are not being able to keep up with those technologies. It's almost like become a vicious cycle of sorts, which is difficult to manage.
How does an average marketer come into the cycle? How does that in turn build themselves for this system? Because what you're saying is true in terms of this is the new way and this is where people are actually getting into it. Companies want a lot more data. They want you to understand what exactly you can do to give them that ROI. But an intern, when he joins a company, he does not even understand that. He is thinking, dude, I know social media or I know a little bit of, I can do email marketing, something he has read somewhere.
Right.
So what do you recommend for them?
Yeah, I think the first thing would be to start with their own ecosystem. One, what are the channels that are working today? So let's start with the bare tactics because that's what mostly interns would be concerned about, right? So what are the channels that are working today? What do I know in terms of how those channels work? Am I able to get what I need to, which is where measurement comes in? Am I able to prove my work, which is also where measurement comes in? So I think it's important to start from that 101 principle. Whatever work am I doing today, it can't be just art and crafts. Those days are gone. They need to go beyond that and they need to start thinking about what is the ROI that I'm getting my company. And those ROI need not be in terms of revenue, right? Sometimes you won't even have that visibility, but it's important to have those micro KPIs that you define, which will at least go and tell your manager that, hey, this is what I did, this is what I spent. And this is the incremental first few KPIs that we got. Now, I know this is not revenue, but if you think about it, this is slowly going to lead to revenue. If that is the convincing that you need to do, I think that's where you need to start with your ecosystem.
And what do you think about marketers joining the funnel or joining the system without doing a course or something? Or do you have a course which you would recommend? Or where do I learn all this is my question, basically.
Yeah, it's a tough question, right? So I know there are in this world, there are two sets of people who feel, one set who feel that marketing, you ought to have done a course to understand the basics of marketing. And then the other set who is a firm believer in learning by doing. I think as a marketer, I think my favorite answer is it depends. And, and I would still say that doing a program or a course becomes important because it gives you a set of frameworks to operate from. Because you don't have to think afresh every single time you're solving a problem. There is a set of broad framework that you have, and you just need to add or subtract something from that framework. So from that perspective, those courses or programs do a great job because it gives you that first principles building block. Learning by doing is possible in today's world because the internet is an ocean.
Definitely.
I think there is nothing that you can't get if you don't if you spend a few hours on the internet daily reading about marketing or even just one specific aspect of marketing. It could be B2B SaaS marketing, right? This tiny sliver. There is a ton of things that you would end up learning about. And all you then
Sure.
need to do is to go and apply and show your promise. So I do believe that earlier you did need a program or a course to give you that stepping stone and to be also be presented with an opportunity, especially in
Sure.
India. But
Yeah.
today, given the plethora of opportunities and information that you have available on the internet, I think that need of a program has almost gone, disappeared.
Right. Can you recommend maybe few places where people can get this information from? Like, let's say, who are your favorite marketers? Like, who you follow?
Sure. There are a few people in the West that I follow, especially in the space of B2B SaaS, because
Right.
it's hotter there than in India.
Right.
So the CM of MailChimp, for example, Tom Klein, I think great. I think as a marketer, first you need to observe what other brands are doing. I think that's really an education, right, in itself.
Right.
And you can do that by just following people or following their brands. Right. So I believe some of the marketers, if you just observe some of the marketers, read their interviews, how they think, I think there's a lot of education to be gathered there. So there is Tom Klein there. There are other marketers across the globe in terms of Drift, for example, is an interesting B2B SaaS brand. There is Gong.
It's amazing.
Yeah, some of those very interesting brands. So I believe I perhaps might not recommend a course really, but once you have started observing what those brands do, why they do what they do, what is the method to the madness, I think you are at a fairly basic level in terms of thinking about marketing. And from there on, you just need to sort of fine tune those tactics. And there you can join a digital marketing, performance marketing course, something a super specialization around search or social and whatnot. I would say that would be, at least from my end, better way.
Awesome. Just to add, Drift has got like amazing resources, like in terms of their books. Like I just got one of my interns to download me all those books, which are plainly about B2B, right? And which is crazy. Like got tons of information. They have got tons of marketers lined up. So that's actually a great recommendation.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. So what are your favorite go-to MarTech tools?
Right. So it's a shameless plug because we use our own tools.
It needs to be.
So, we build products for the globe, but then we sort of almost like drink our own champagne, which means we use it first before we sell it to the globe. So the tool that we are using today just got launched. It's called Freshworks CRM. And what the tool does is very different from rest of the tools, as one would say. But there is a magic to this, which is it combines your Salesforce data, Salesforce automation data, and marketing automation data into one platform. Now, a big problem out there in the world is sales teams are looking at a different set of data altogether, and marketing is looking at a different set of data. It's a pure problem of technology and system. Now, what if there is one platform which sort of gets all that together? So for Jeet, I have a single record, and I know, hey, Jeet visited my website, downloaded my ebook via chat. He also visited my pricing page. He might be interested. And then he went out to respond to one of my emails that I sent him with some nice video. That's marketing information. And that's available for sales when they actually start dialing you out and they then start talking to you. So there is so much more context and therefore higher percentage of meetings that get booked, higher percentage of wins and eventually revenues and deals that get booked, right? So that's the tool that we're using and we are super impressed by it.
Awesome. Any third-party tools like which you would recommend?
Right. So, for example, we also use Allocadia for attribution. I think that's sort of magic done by our MarkOps team, where we use Allocadia today for both planning and for measurement and attribution. And we've got a brilliant model in place. We are able to attribute different sets of channels and activities to eventual signups and revenue and whatnot. So that's a journey that we have made in the last 1.5 years.
Awesome. Sounds great. Can you share one eureka moment wherein the light bulb in your head actually went on and you were like, wow, this is something?
Yeah.
What is that?
Perhaps not a eureka moment, but a high moment for me was when I was working with Hero MotoCorp, which is the sort of one of the largest marketers in the country.
Right.
I was responsible for the brand marketing and digital for international markets. And there was a big foray into international markets. We were in about 30, 35 countries back then.
Right.
And I realized that when I was marketing to Colombia as a country, right, it's a completely different market. You don't know the language, you don't know the people, but there is a lot in commonality that we realize. So for example, the common traits would be the consumers there and here. Ultimately, we are all humans. We are all family oriented. It's a collectivist culture. It's not an individualist culture. So when you start deep diving into the market, understanding their culture, consumer, and looking at it from that lens, you realize that there are a lot of dissimilarities and you need to sort of ensure that you're not biased when you look at those. And then there are a lot of commonalities which we need to latch on to. So I think one of my biggest aha moments was when we did a television campaign for them when we were launching the brand in Colombia. It was a
Okay.
huge launch, multi-country launch, a multi-channel launch, lots of budget riding on it. So fairly nervous, as one would expect from the younger self of my younger self. And so when you see your ads running in different markets being consumed by people, I think it's a great feeling, right? It's an amazing feeling when you see your ads on television sets, on digital and whatnot. So I think that was a big high that I would, yeah, and doesn't come often, yeah, in your life. You don't make 100 ads unless you are in an ad agency, perhaps, right?
Right,
So
right,
I think that was a moment where I realized how understanding culture and those nuances around it, and then to create a campaign around it, there is so much to learn when you do that.
Perfect. Awesome. I can actually relate to that because I had a similar moment. But this was from I created something which went on a hoarding, and I went way back because I had a job and something. So I had to go to this site just to see that banner early in the morning, like at 7 or something.
Right.
And those days, mobile phones and all these things were not like that crazy, right? So I couldn't even take a picture, but I just seeing it, I was like, wow, man, this looks awesome.
Right. Yeah. And it's amazing to see your output and all the days leading to that output. I think that's a very fun time and an interesting
Right.
time.
Right. So I just did a webinar in the morning, and this was around content marketing hacks, right? So can you tell me about one or two content marketing hacks or some stories on content marketing which really blew your mind away when you heard of them? It could be of any company around the world or any brand.
Sure. I think one thing I'm really a fan of is how marketing and engineering can get together to create something amazing,
Right.
especially when the world is going digital. So multiple products like that. For example, the one of the most popular ones is when HubSpot wanted to launch inbound marketing. They had this product called websitegrader.com,
Correct.
which was essentially a free grading of website. Right? Which small business wouldn't want to do that? Now it's an incredible hook where you have got your engineering resources and marketing resources. You have thought about what you would ultimately want to do at the end of the day and sort of serve it to the audience and not branded as a HubSpot product. It's a product that's just simply useful to the audience and people would lap it up, right? So I think
Right.
I won't, there's a lot to it in terms of thinking, and the thinking needs to be fairly long range in terms of where you want to be in the next 1 year with that particular tool, how that tool becomes a part of your larger strategy and not just simply another tool that you have in your arsenal at the end of the day. So I think I'm a great fan of some of those things where engineering and product get together. Apart from that, I'm also seeing, especially in the B2B world, there's a lot more focus on being contextual. So we ourselves, for example, did a campaign around Valentine's Day, and you would think, hey, why would you do a campaign around Valentine's Day, right? So we realized that our persona, which is our sales reps, they hate putting data in their CRM. Right. And who would love that? This is the age of Facebook and LinkedIn. And here you are asking them to sort of dump a ton of data every day for 2 hours to the CRM. Everyone would hate that. So we really wanted to play on that, right? And we then wanted to talk about how easy to use our product is. So we had a sort of almost like an ode or a poem that spoke about the love-hate relationship between a salesperson and a CRM. It's almost like a boyfriend and a girlfriend. Okay. And that sort of did well as well. So I see a lot more of that human focused content also coming in the B2B space, which usually you would see from a lot more of B2B brands earlier.
Sure. I need to check that out. I will see if I can find something online.
I'll send you that.
Yeah, but it's crazy. Like I totally agree. The combination of creativity, technology, and making ultimately human-based content, like which humans are reacting to, which is kind of the secret sauce to delivering good content. What are your top recommendations for books? It may be marketing, it may not be marketing, anything.
Right. I think someone who's just starting off in marketing, influenced by Robert Cialdini, I think is a great book.
Right.
Tells you about the different ways you could influence people in general. And marketing is nothing but influencing, right? So I think that's a great book to sort of start off. Other books that are really well known is the Battle of Minds that talks about positioning. I think those are just fundamentally amazing books that have stood the test of time. You could go back to them, refer to them even today, and nothing really has changed because it's fundamental the psychology of humans. Those are the two books I would recommend.
Awesome. Thank you. What does marketing mean to you in one word?
I was saying what I think about marketing personally, or what marketing as a function means to me.
What marketing as a function means to you?
Yeah, I think if it's one word, I think it means persuasion.
Persuasion. Okay.
Absolutely.
And can you expand on that? Can you give us your insight?
Right. So at the end of the day, and again, I'm sort of putting across that simplistic view of the funnel. What you're doing at the top of the funnel is trying to catch attention. So you're persuading them to stop through their tracks when they're on that social media feed, and you want to hook them right there. So that's persuasion 101, not a very basic
Right.
level.
Right.
Then you move them and they want them to take an action. So the hooks that you have in that ad, for example, or that content piece, I think that's step two. Step
Right.
three is getting them to sort of move to another page, spend their 15 seconds and get to do some work that you
Right.
want them to do. Right?
Right.
And eventually to buy a product. So at every stage, you are almost sort of persuading them in a very smaller way with zero friction and moving them to a place where you want them to be. So I believe marketing is nothing but persuasion at scale. So you need to be very smart at how the audience as an aggregate things versus an individual, which is sales.
Nice. I like that answer. What do you see future of Martech? In a simple way, people say na, ki robots are going to rule mankind. Like that's somewhat like the Matrix or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in terms of now Martech, we know tools might be part and parcel of life. But what more are the insights which we are not looking at today? And any idea on those? Like, where do you see this going on?
I think what Martech has given us is a lot more of measurement and accountability. I think it comes to that, right? These
Right.
are technologies to tell you what you are doing and whether you're doing well or not, very clearly.
Right.
Which means there are multiple things that can happen to the life of a marketer thanks to Martech, right? Which is marketing getting closer to sales. I think that's the first implication. You won't have two different targets where we initially spoke about leads being thrown off the wall and marketer being
Right.
happy that I have
Right.
done my job and the sales
Right.
team still, cursing you. So that's going to change because the funnel is slowly converging. Sales and marketing are getting closer. You have one goal, which makes the life of a CEO so much easier, right?
Right.
You're not looking at an impression metric for the marketer and a sales metric for the salesperson. So I think
Right.
that fundamentally the way teams operate within a company can change if Martech continues to operate the way it is. I think that by far is the biggest change that I foresee when it comes to Martech, changing the way people and processes function within a business.
Awesome. And in terms of the marketing strategy at, let's say, Freshworks, what exactly are you guys planning to do? Like for 2021, we are now closing in on 2020 as the end. So 2021, what's new on your side?
I think just increase the speed overall of the marketing activities that we do, exclude activities that don't work well. So marketers are very good at doing more and more, but
Right.
horribly poor at excluding what's not worked, right? Because we are
Right.
generally we want to do more and hey, this might work. Let's do this. Let's put some money behind it, do an A/B test and whatnot. So I think it's important at an overall level to also exclude stuff that might not work and that hasn't worked in the past. And thirdly, to go deeper into segments, right? So the scale at which the company is growing, it's important that we focus deeply on some of the market segments like small businesses, some of the geographies like North America and EU and India and the other big ones that are growing. So becoming a little sharper and tighter on some of them, apart from the couple of other things that I mentioned. I think those are the three big things that we would focus on 2021.
Perfect. And one question which just popped into my mind when you were saying that, what's the difference between the domestic strategy, which you guys are taking into account, versus the international strategy for getting to different markets?
Right.
How does that work?
Sure. So in terms of context, and this is public data that's available, which is India has got about 32 million to 40 million SMBs, MSMEs,
Right.
micro small businesses,
Right.
which is a ton of potential, right? US has got a similar number of SMBs, but it's also got a very high number of enterprises. And that's why it's one big monolith market that's doing so well when it comes to tech, right? So in India, in general, a lot of companies are focusing on SMBs a lot more. And of course, even mid-market enterprise. But that's happening a little slowly, especially also with COVID and whatnot that's coming up. But I can't speak for Freshworks in general, but overall, there is a lot more focus on helping the SMBs grow and grow with them. And at the same time, focus on mid-market and enterprise wherever there are good opportunities available.
Right. So do you have different teams for this, like India operations and abroad also?
Sure. So there is a sales head for the India team. There are focused pre-sales teams for India. There are inside sales teams for India. So there are geo-focused sales and marketing teams that we have across the globe just to ensure there is adequate focus.
Awesome. Thanks for that. How exactly do you spend your time? Like, what are you doing when you are not working?
Yeah. So I spend quite a bit of time reading. So
Okay.
I read anything that's about humans at one end, which is some bit of psychology, philosophy, big fan of that. And at the other end, I do read a lot about the industry. So there is a lot of time I like reading about where the industry is moving, what is happening with SaaS in different markets, what are the financial metrics when it comes to SaaS and whatnot. So there is a ton of stuff that I read to sort of, let's say, impress my soul and fulfill my soul. And there is some other stuff that I do for my intellectual curiosity, which is more around the business and what else can we
Right.
do. So I use my weekends to also plan for the next week a lot of times, just because there is a
Right.
lot going on, and you need that space, alone time to also start thinking about, hey, what do I do next week and what do I do the next 2 months. That's
Uh,
broadly how I would sort of spend my time.
Perfect. And any tools that you use for planning? Like, where do you plan?
Oh, simple Google Calendar. I think I just
Okay.
block times for next week and out on my Google Calendar with a list of things that I want to accomplish. I think it just blocks that time and gives me that 1 hour that I want to spend on this topic. That's something I like to decide right now. And I usually try and make it on that calendar and on that date.
Okay. What is the one question which I'm not asking, but you wish you would be asked?
I think a lot of people in the audience might be from B2C and B2B. And the common question that I get is, how are these two worlds different? It's very easy to look at these two industries as animals, two separate animals. They don't talk to each other. There is no connection. If you're a marketer in B2C, you can't be a marketer in B2B and vice versa. I
Right.
think that is changing for multiple reasons. So, for example, in B2C, and I said this earlier as well, which is the only difference and the only fundamental difference between B2C and B2B is that in B2C, it's your own money that you're spending. In B2B, it's someone else's money, right? Everything
Okay.
else, including the emotions that you have while choosing a product, while thinking about it, while discussing it, all remains the same. So the marketer's job is to just pull that string and
Right.
identify what that emotion is, and then sort of run their campaigns and content and whatnot. So I think that's one question that I get, given that I have exposure across both those industries.
Awesome. Thank you for that. There's one question which has come from Shovik. He is asking, how do you think Martech will evolve the traditional businesses like FMCG or offline retail? How
Yeah.
can Martech help them?
Sure. I think the first step there is to one, start thinking about your post-sale customers, right? In traditional industries, there is a lot of focus on just thinking about prospects. And if that selling happens only on retail, and if you're not capturing any customer data, it is a fundamental problem because you don't know who to market to. So I
Right.
think it's important to one, identify a lever where you're capturing some amount of data to start marketing to, right? In a lot of cases, it is a separate e-commerce leg that you have of the same brand that you're selling on the store, right? That's one common way that you might want to capture customer data. You might also then have retail level loyalty program that you could do where the
Right.
retailer could then sort of capture some of that data, and you could sort of make use of data. So I think the first step is to capture customer data. And there are so many tools available, right, to capture customer data and to work on top of that data. So there is, at the first level, if you want to do just an email, there are email marketing tools that are available.
Right.
You could do segmentation on those email campaigns based on how recently did they purchase from you, what is the value of their purchase, what is the frequency of their consumption. So there are so many segmenting variables that they can put to sort of send them different and relevant messages. Then if you have a ton of contacts that you have ended up capturing, you can use CRM for that, where it's slightly more evolved, because then the sales team start using that CRM, the marketing team start using that CRM, and you can do a ton of more evolved activities compared to email automation. So I would say start with the customer, think about where can you capture customer signals,
Right.
and then once you've started capturing those signals, then what is the next best tool in terms of the channels that you want to use to start looking at bringing some intelligence on top of that data.
Perfect. I think that's a solid answer. You must be knowing AppSumo, right?
AppSumo, yes.
Yeah. Have you guys tried that kind of functionality or that kind of marketing tactic wherein you go onto AppSumo, maybe get one of your products featured over there? So have you tried that out? And
Yeah.
what was the result of it?
Yeah, so we've tried that for Product Hunt, which is of course a very similar thing, but more for, I guess, it's bigger hub for engineers and founders, maybe in the West, I guess. And what we do there is we of course launch our products there for sure, just to sort of get some curiosity going and whatnot. What we've also started doing is we've started launching some very interesting ebooks and even content on those
Nice.
on those platforms. And that's because it's important to be on top of mind and to be known as an expert and authority in your area and in the product and the category that you're selling. And those platforms get a kind of audience that very different from the rest of the world, right? Social will
Right.
not have that audience, for example.
Right.
And so you're finding presence amongst a set of early adopters who
Right.
like technology in general and who might be the first ones to look up your product. And even if they like those, there will be a lot of more of referrals and word of mouth that will follow. So I think those are really interesting niche platforms to introduce a product and to build on top of that.
Awesome. So I think we are almost done with our time. So I would first of all like to thank you, Abhishek, for your time, and you've been standing for all this while. So thanks a lot for that. It's been great. You come across as a very insightful marketer and someone who has immense knowledge. So I would like to thank all the attendees also people who are seeing it live on Facebook. Thanks a lot for your time. We do this every week. Next Saturday, again at around 6 p.m., we are going to come up with a new episode of Dude, Where's My ROI, where we will get one of the marketers out there who is going to help us understand, dude, where's my ROI? Okay. There's a request from, she is asking about the books that you mentioned. So one of the books was Influence. Can you give me the other book's name?
Yeah, 21 Immutable Laws of Marketing.
No, it was, yeah.
Battle of Minds, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So we got one more book name. So thanks a lot, Switcher, for that. Battle of Minds, right?
That's right.
Okay. We'll also be putting this session up on our social channels as well as it's coming soon on our website also. So guys, stay tuned and thanks a lot, Abhishek. Thank you everyone for attending this. Cheers and all the best.